surprised, but.
You're not alone, my friend.
This is Penny. I'm just telling Terry I got a live stream message, so I think you did it.
This meeting is being live streamed. Yes, it is. Got it.
Okay, great.
So Terry, can you hear me, Terry?
I can hear you, John.
Okay, if I freeze up like I did on my test run the other day with you, I might just call in on my phone and I won't have audio, but
Okay.
maybe that'll work. So if you have your phone handy,
I have it handy.
I should dial your phone number, right?
Yes.
Well, we got a couple more minutes. We're expecting a couple more people.
Terry, I do see it on YouTube now.
Good.
Bruce, are you here for the transfer station discussion?
I am. If I can be any use to you or have any information, feel free to call on me.
Okay, we actually have we're gonna go and talk with our engineer from Gottlieb and Dorsey at 5 out of order regarding our road project, because he has to leave at 5:30. So you're either gonna have to listen to that or or come back later. No, I'm only kidding. So,
I'll just hang out, whatever works.
yeah.
I understand how things don't always go as planned. I see Jeff there.
Yeah.
Hey, Bruce, how you doing?
Not too bad. How you doing, Jeff?
Pretty good.
Cold enough for you?
Plenty cold.
At least you're not at the airport.
That's a fact. I do have the scanner going though, so I do listen to them out there plowing the snow.
Yeah, I listen to Brian and the others every now and again on the scanner. And I'm thinking, I don't envy him one bit now.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Sure glad I don't have to do any of those NOTAMs or anything like that for it.
I've been having audio problems. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great.
So Walter, when I was doing a test Zoom with Terry the other day, I froze up, and I remembered in the past, you sometimes stopped your video to try to improve that, you know, at least keep your voice. How does one do that?
What kind of machine do you have?
It's a Dell.
Okay, so where are the down at the bottom? Do you have participants chat, share screen, or is it at the top?
No, it's down the bottom, and I guess what? I see stop video. I bet I click on that.
There you go. That's what you do.
I didn't realize it doesn't show up
And
unless
poof,
I
you're
move my
going.
unless I move my cursor. Okay. Andrew, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening.
Betty, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
According to my phone, we still have 4 minutes. Is it dark there?
It is, and it's windy and cold.
Yeah, it's still
Wind chill's got us below 0.
still light here. So Andrew, as I understand it, you have a half an hour at most, correct?
I do, unfortunately. I apologize for
Yep.
that, but I have another meeting actually in person in Thomaston tonight.
Oh, they're still meeting in person.
Yes, I know. There's a few.
I think Cushing is, Dan Staples told me.
They are as well, yes.
Owl's Head Select Board is also meeting in person.
There won't be many people without COVID very soon, so everybody will be immune soon.
Hi, Lynn, welcome.
Hello?
Hi, Scott. I assume you're there behind that blank screen.
How you doing?
Good. Ed and Merle, welcome. I know you've been on there for a while.
We're here. Listening. Figure out how to see it on YouTube. Let us know.
We went out to YouTube to the select board site and it doesn't look like it's live streaming there, just the past meetings that are up there. Unless we're screwed up.
Anyone on it
If
and said
you-
it was live streaming?
So Terry, you broke up.
Yeah,
Penny went on and said it was live streaming.
and I thought Bruce said that too.
I wonder if they went to the old site.
I just checked it. If you search South Thomaston Clerk and then click on that icon, it should pop right up.
Yes, you're right. It pop up. We can get it on the live stream on YouTube. Very good.
You want to do it up there?
Okay, it's 5 o'clock. I'm gonna call this meeting to order because Andrew has limited time and I also have limited time. Not as limited as Andrew, but so I'm gonna call this meeting to order at 5. It's the first time I've chaired a Zoom meeting, so be patient with me. And plus, when I did a test with Terry, it froze up on me, so I may have to pass it off to Jeff or Walter. Although Walter's had freezing problems in the past. So,
Yeah.
the best we can.
First stop should be Jeff.
We'll do the best we can. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? The only one I have is fairly minor. We did get a letter of complaint from George Hart that I think regarding snow plowing that I think we should at least accept. I'm going to skip public comment for items not on the agenda and go right to Andrew since he only has a half an hour. And this subject is the subject of the review Island Road bids is probably the most meaty item on the agenda tonight. So Andrew, I understand we had 2 bids, one quite favorable. So you want to just walk us through that a little bit and then we'll come back and have a little bit of discussion amongst the board and then open it up for a public comment.
Yeah, certainly. So that's true. We actually only received 2 bids, one from Jake Barber Incorporated right there in Owl's Head. And the second bid was from Hagar Enterprises. They're located in Damariscotta. I have worked successfully on many projects with both of these contractors. There was quite a discrepancy between their bid prices. Hagar Enterprises for the entire project and completion was $333,000 and some change there. And then JBI was $566,000 for their bid. So to kind of truth check that number, what I did is I reached out to a third party, one that was included in the bid invitation. but did not provide a bid due to their busy schedule this coming year. They weren't able to bid it. And I kind of picked their brain to see what the bid price would have been or should have been for them. And they were somewhere in that 300, the mid to high $300,000 range as well. So I'm comfortable that the number that Hagar has provided seems to be in range. I'm guessing the discrepancy between the two is just due to JBI's work schedule coming into this season, knowing that everybody is pretty busy. The other thing that Hagar has that the other companies do not have is the fact that they do their own asphalt. So they manage all their own asphalt. They don't have to sub that out. So that avoids a markup. And quite honestly, I've seen this happen recently with Hagar on a couple of other projects that included quite a bit of asphalt. They were able to outbid the contractors for that very reason, that they can provide a pretty aggressive number on the asphalt numbers. Despite what they show in the unit prices there, they can put that in other places in the contract. But all their unit prices looked reasonable for changes if they do happen to be needed. But I would highly recommend the town proceed with Hagar Enterprises for this project since it's within budget. It seems to be on point, and our experience working with Hagar leaves me no question or doubt that they'll be able to perform this project.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I too was quite pleased. I worked with Hager in Waldboro, and as a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, I rode around, spent a morning with Vaughn from Hager, getting some, just as my job as interim uncompensated road commissioner, getting some paving prices from him. I was very pleased when I saw that Hager was the low bid. I did a little calculations and I sent out a spreadsheet very late this afternoon, about a half an hour ago. And it strikes me, I haven't double checked it with Terry or anyone else, but it strikes me that if the Hager bid is accepted, not only is the projected deficit that we had of about 27 plus wiped out, we actually now have a cushion of 42,000 or somewhere in that nature. And even if we carry the 5% construction contingency that was in your estimate, Andrew, that still gives us about 25,000 of a cushion. So that I think is great news. We do have a little bit of legal costs left probably to secure those last 3 easements, but as you pointed out, we don't absolutely positively need them. They really benefit the property owner more than the town, as I understand it. And and the town's also had a relationship with Hager in the past. They've recently done most of the town's paving work. And so I'm thrilled with the way things came out. Jeff or Walter, would you like to comment or question? I can't see very well. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, I also am high on Hager. Of course, I'm high on JBI as well. Did a lot of work with both of them at the airport. So either one of them would have been good for me. There is one snake in the Hagar bids, and that's the unit pricing. So if we end up adding to the project or doing some change orders, we just need to do that judiciously and cautiously because that's where he made up the difference was in the unit pricing for add-ons. And so we can probably even negotiate some of that with him, I suspect. Because in almost every single line item, he's significantly higher than JBI. But again, that's only if we get add-on. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's reversed, quite honestly.
Huh.
I've got them side by side right now, and it's unclear if you get them all shuffled out. But I honestly think the unit prices Hagar provided are half of what JBI's were.
Well, then somehow it printed out because what I've got, yeah, it's not labeled on it. I show as common excavation $50 for Hagar.
Yeah, that's JBI's actually.
Okay, all right. Then never mind. Forget all of that.
Perfect.
So it's good all around.
Okay, Walter?
I'd like to hear Andrew again to explain the major elements of the discrepancy, because it was just completely floored me that there'd be such a huge difference.
Yeah, that was my one concern, actually, so I'd like to hear it again, too.
So the measured quantities you're talking, the only measured quantity that was included was the asphalt.
Right, and so Hagar is using more asphalt at less price, but
Yeah,
your explanation for that
have
is
a
that,
higher, yeah, so they have a higher unit price and they're using a little bit more asphalt. And honestly, it's not much. If you look at the actual difference between the two, there's only a few tons of asphalt difference in there. And honestly,
Like
when you
1
get
to
a
7 to
paver
1 to
involved
11.
like this, they know what it takes more so than the asphalt, than somebody like JBI. They put their estimates together, they hand it to a paver, and then the paver gives them an estimate from there. So I suspect they increased their tonnage just simply due to the fact that they're anticipating a little bit wider on the base. You can see in both their numbers, they have about 10 extra tons of asphalt for the lower base of that material. So they're anticipating a little bit of runoff and a little bit wider than needed along the edges there, and they try to taper it up, I'm guessing, for that surface course. That's why it's a little bit less. But all in all, when their numbers are, I don't see a huge difference. 20 ton when you break it down over the course of the two bids is pretty small. We're looking at about 600 tons of asphalt in total at the end of the day. So it really isn't a big difference between the two. And so the one thing, going back to the contingency and the recommendation, I would, before the town distributes funds from this project, I would highly recommend you hold on to the available budget, at least a 10% contingency on this. I would inflate that even further, knowing that there might be potential funds available for it to hold on to. The one wild card in this, based on these numbers, in addition to the contingency, is the asphalt escalator. So what that means is if the unit price of the liquid ton of asphalt increases from now until the time the project's constructed, the contractor is entitled to the percentage difference in pricing. So if the price goes up by 10%, that paving number will increase by 10%. So just comparatively, if you need 10% more asphalt, you're looking at probably a $6,000 difference, when you get into the pricing changes there. So just a slight uptick in that asphalt with 600 tons could be a pretty substantial adjustment. So I would just caution that the town hold on to as much money as they can before it's distributed, just to make sure those numbers are nailed down. Once the asphalt numbers seen and cleaned up, then you can probably reduce that contingency back down to 10%, between that 5 to 10% moving forward. But I would hold on to as much as you can, of course.
Yeah, I don't think there's any thought at this point to reduce the grant or anything like that. I was just saying that we do have that cushion there now, whereas before we thought we were going to have to go out and find 27 plus. That's good news. And just so Jeff and Walter, just so you guys know, I actually talked with Vaughn this morning, not about this project, but about the estimates I was working on for the balance of Sprucehead Island Road and some other places. And he indicated to me that obviously that if the project is awarded to them, that could result in some savings on the budget number he gave me for the balance of the road, because he doesn't have to mobilize twice for that. So, so to speak. So I think it's going to work out well. Andrew, what are you looking for tonight from us? Are you looking for authorization to accept a bid so we can finalize, try to negotiate a final contract?
That's it exactly. If the board could vote to recommend proceeding with Hagar, then a notice of intent could be prepared and finalized. We'll prepare that notice of intent. The town will sign it. And then we can send that to Hagar. And what that does, it allows them to put the project in their books, line up all their bonding, and get the units and the pricing all kind of nailed down, knowing that you're going to go forward with working with them on the contract. And then the contract can be finalized in the near future, but it'll kind of put it in their books officially. and get things moving. Now, just because you give the notice of intent doesn't mean you have to go forward with the contract. You're not signing the contract yet. You still have to go through that steps, and you have the ability to still back out of that going forward. I don't see any reason why you would, but I just wanted to say it doesn't finalize anything. It just says, if you do go forward with this project right now, with these bids, you're going forward with Hagar. And it just gives them a little bit of assurance to be aware that it's coming.
Okay. Jeff or Walter, any other comments? I do want to open it
Well,
up
it
briefly.
makes me feel better because although I've read through this, I wanted to be more conversant. The fact that we do have an out, if we do a letter of intent, that settles that in my mind.
Okay. Jeff?
Nope, I'm ready to go.
Okay. We got 15 minutes left with Andrew. So if anyone in the public has any comment or questions, if they would like to, if you could keep it brief and on point, because Andrew has now 14 minutes. So I think John Koppel has his hand up. Can't hear you, John. Can't hear you. You gotta unmute. John, we can't hear you.
John, you're on mute still.
I don't know how to get to him.
I keep clicking ask to unmute, but he's not responding.
John, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Start over. Oh, he's back on mute.
All right, it says, anyway,
okay.
Congratulations. Glad to hear we're under budget. What were the other bids?
There was just one from JBI that was 500 and where is it, 66,000.
So the difference is what, Andrew?
Roughly
Between the high and the low.
$230,000.
So would you call the JBI a courtesy bid or what?
Quite honestly, like I said, to start the meeting, I reached out to one of the other contractors that were included on that list to just get a ballpark from him on what the bid would be so that I was sure and could kind of check that number. And his number came back within budget as well. It was in that mid range of $300,000. Quite honestly, it was 371.
Who was that? Which contractor?
I don't want to disclose that. I think we'll just leave it at that. But I did reach out to one of those contractors on the list that the bids went to. I think out of courtesy, I just like to keep that between him and I.
Was that before or after you got the other bids?
After we saw those bids.
Okay. It's quite a spread between the low bid and which sometimes gives a person pause.
Yes.
It does. And honestly, if it was contractors that we were not familiar with, then it would definitely give concern for pause. I have reached out to Vaughn. I wanted to discuss this with him. I haven't heard back from him. I know he's a busy man right now, and I've been in and out of the office myself. So we just were not able to connect prior to this meeting. But like I said, I've worked on many projects with Hagar. I'm fully confident they know how to bid a project. And if they've messed up in their bid and they haven't done something, they're going to perform the project and complete it per specifications in accordance to the contracts that they signed. So I'm confident and comfortable that they're going to be able to perform this project for the bid price that they've presented.
Sounds good. Thank you. They've done a lot of work. They paved most of the area around from the airport, et cetera, 73. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public wishing to comment briefly? Barbara writes. Oh, no. It's Walter. I saw Barbara. Go ahead, Walter. You're not the public. Go ahead.
So Andrew, did Hagar know this was coming and were they prepped for it? And I'm just, again, the spread, I know they're reliable because we ride on their pavement all day long, no matter what roads we're traveling in town. But that spread is gonna rattle around in my head until we actually finally vote. So did,
Yeah, so
was Hagar primed and ready to win this? Do you know?
no, I'm not sure. They certainly weren't primed and ready. They didn't know about it any earlier than the group that went out. They all went out together. I don't reach out to contractors and let them know something's coming. When we're doing a bid like this, if I see somebody and we're in conversation, I might bring it up. But for this project, we sent it all out in advance to all the contractors on the list. We let them know. Vaughn was the one that reached out with the most questions, and we answered them in the addendum. Quite honestly, that everybody saw the questions, everybody got the responses to it. So we're very careful to handle the bids and make sure that it's done professionally and appropriately. So they didn't see anything in advance, but I'm looking at the unit numbers that were provided by JBI versus the ones provided by Hagar. That's really where it is. Their numbers are significantly different. And quite honestly, the numbers that I run in my estimates are somewhere in between the two on some of them. So I look at like culvert pricing with an 18-inch culvert for Hagar. They're at $75 a linear foot, which is about what I'm estimating in my spreadsheets. Whereas JBI was $190 a linear foot. So there's quite an inflated price, I think, on the JBI numbers in those components. And I think it just all added up to be a significant difference. Quite honestly, with what's going on in the world right now and contractors being either insanely busy or you find that window of opportunity for them, I think that's what's happened is JBI is very busy. That's the reason we only got 2 bids back is everybody's busy still already for next year. So they're very busy. They wanted to put in a bid because it's in their backyard. But Hagar probably had a window of opportunity. They indicated right there on the bid that they can get in there in June and kind of get that whole project done in a couple of weeks, quite honestly, which is really nice. And JBI couldn't even identify a date to start. So I think that is another clue that tells you JBI is a little busier than Hagar, and this one seems to slot into their project queue a little bit better. But again, I understand the numbers are high, but just looking at the surface, looking at the numbers I usually use in my unit pricing, JBI seems slightly elevated or significantly in some of them, quite honestly.
Well, Andrew, if I recall correctly, their bid was actually pretty close to your original estimate.
Well, there it is. I think my estimate with contingency was $403,000. So I think they're right there within that range. They're what they were.
That was your revised estimate.
Yeah.
Your original estimate was considerably lower, and I think not that far. If I don't have to recall the exact number, but I think it was pretty close to that.
It very well may have been. I honestly forget off the top of my head what that original cost estimate from 2019 was. I'm pulling it up right now. It was in 2019. It was $358,000.
Yeah,
and that included a contingency as well.
Yeah.
So
right.
It's
contingency. So you take out the 10% contingency, you were right there on the original estimate.
Yeah, a few things changed from now till then, that's for sure. But we were priced in a different road then. But yes, we ended up where we needed to be. And like I said, I think those numbers line up well.
Well, I personally feel we have an opportunity here, and I'm very comfortable with Hagar. I've worked with them in Waldoboro quite a bit, and I know the town has. I think even if they have messed up, I think they will honor this. And I think they know what they're doing. I don't feel like we got a bid from someone who's hung out a shingle out on his pickup truck, last week. And I feel it's an opportunity, and I'm ready to move forward on the letter of intent. And I'm sure Andrew will scour it a little more as we move forward. But for Jeff, is there any other comment from anyone in the public? Okay, Walter, are you prepared to?
The one last thing I want to add is if you issue the letter of intent, the other benefit to the town that does is it locks in their bid bond. So now you own that bid bond, or you get to hold that bid bond. So for the public who's not familiar with the bid bond, they have to provide you with a check that guarantees that they're going to provide the town with a 5% payment of the total contract if for some reason they back out of this bid, now that they've provided it. So the town would get to keep that money, that, $15,000 and change, if Hagar backed out of the bid. That being said, in the years I've been doing this, I've never collected a bid bond because they've always proceeded with the contracts. You've always been able to negotiate that, but it just gives another procedural step along the way to say, okay, let's get that notice of intent out to them. We intend to work with them. And then it'll kind of finalize these contracts. JBI gets theirs back, and Hagar, you get to hold that until the project's moving forward.
All right, I move we issue a letter of intent to Hagar for the Island Road renovation project.
Second.
Should we reference their bid in that motion, Andrew?
Yeah, that's fine. The letter of intent will reference the bid and the bid amount.
Okay, if that's sufficient, then that's okay.
And I'll send that over to you guys to review and authorize.
Okay, further discussion? All those in favor?
Jeff, aye.
John?
We have to roll
Aye.
call. Sorry, John.
Yeah, John, aye. Oh, I forgot, we got a roll call by name, so, but I think everybody's the name and voted. Okay, we got you out of here 5 minutes early, Andrew.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Hold on, I thought we did. Julia has her hand up.
All right,
Hold on, Andrew.
certainly.
This doesn't really involve Andrew, I think, but John, I was curious, your reference to paving Spruce Head Island Road. Is there talk about additional paving on Island Road?
Oh, yeah, that's the next, that was the next one on our former road commissioner's list. It's certainly, in my opinion, in the worst shape in town. I mean, I don't know whether that will come to pass or not. That obviously has to go through the selectmen's budget, the budget committee, town meeting, but it's certainly, I am advocating that be done at the same time, or in concert with, if you will, for the rest of the road in my current position as uncompensated road commissioner, interim uncompensated road commissioner. So yes, I think there is.
So is that talk about paving from 73 to up to the stop sign on the island?
Yeah, but obviously exempting the two sections of the new road. No, actually probably further than that, probably down to Atwoods, where we have problems down below by Atwoods with the swale and water problems down in there. But that's all to be determined. Nothing's cast in concrete at this point, no pun intended.
Right, but is the town anticipating doing that as a add-on to Hager's contract?
Well, I think that's a possible advantage that we could. I mean, it wouldn't technically be part of this contract, but if it could be done in a coordinated manner with this contract, we might be able to get a favorable price because if we go with Hager, because he would have already mobilized his paving equipment, for lack of a better word.
Right.
Yeah, procedurally, you would authorize this contract and then you can negotiate, the side contract, if you will, but that's how you'd want to do that.
Right. Yeah, and we wouldn't want to, in my opinion, we wouldn't want to do that area free in the bridge until the construction project is over.
And was JBI aware of that as well?
Was who?
The other bidder.
Yeah, they're not a paving contractor.
I'm sorry?
They're not a paving contractor. JBI doesn't do paving.
No, but they had a paving sub. So my question was, were they aware of this possibility as Hager was?
I don't know if they were or they weren't, and I'm not sure Hager. Well, yeah, Hager would have been aware that we were thinking about it. But Hager, I think, was probably aware because they've done most of our paving the last few years. So I'm not sure who was aware of what, to be honest with you on that, so.
That information was not included in the bid that went out. And those numbers that were provided are standalone from that. So any of the potential discounts you may get will be on the other end of this project. So because it's completely separate from this project, if Hager was anticipating you were going to give them additional bids and they put that in theirs, they only hurt themselves because it lowered the number and there's no contract guarantee to proceed with that other bidding. So so they'll be able to offer, hopefully help with prices on the other end of this.
Yeah.
But not within this contract.
Right, clearly it was not part of the contract. It may.
Oh, no,
be
I
may-
understood that. No, it was just your earlier comment that I was not aware that the town was talking about paving the whole roadway, although, so that was just of interest to me because it sounded in your conversation as perhaps that might happen this summer as well. When you do something like that, do you grind the road first and repave?
We haven't in the past. We've just done shims and overlay.
I see.
But I think there, but again, this is all speculative. I mean, you know, we're just beginning our budget process now for next year. So I don't want people to walk away thinking that the entire island road is going to be paved. There's a lot of hoops to jump through yet.
No, I was just, yes, I was.
Okay.
It was your reference to it that caught my eye.
Right. I just thought there might be an opportunity here since that was sort of next up on our list.
Uh-huh. Interesting. Okay. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Yeah. And Walter, did you have something to add to that?
Well, just that JBI would, if they had bid on one of the paving jobs and had close contact with Jerry, they would know the plan, but I don't think they are not close to the situation. It's not their thing, right? So.
Yeah, I've never seen them bid on just a paving contract in my life, but.
So Andrew, thank you so very much for all the work you've done, but we have not seen the last of you.
No, I'm afraid not. So we'll keep moving this forward and we'll be in touch very, very soon. You guys have a great night.
Okay, Andrew, we'll let you go.
Thanks, Andrew.
Okay, let's jump back up to the beginning. I see that Bruce Colson is here, Walter, and I mentioned to Bruce before you came on, I said, Bruce, I assume you're here for the transfer station. So why don't we take that up out of order and then perhaps Bruce can go get his dinner if he hasn't had one yet. So is that agreeable to you, Walter?
Oh, yeah. Sure. You want me to start?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. This is, I'm not going to exhaust everybody tonight. A couple of things that I want to pass on to you. We have received the full package. My connection is unstable. Hold on. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you were just breaking up a little.
No.
Anybody
Yeah,
else?
I got that. All right. Is my audio working?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's breaking up a little.
So we have a package of final documents that reflect the changes that we've made, which we have not reviewed yet. And as soon as we do that, I will put that package in the town hall. The two predecessors to that have been in the community room or in the town offices from the get-go. So I just want to make that clear to folks. Next week, the board is going to have a meeting to review the results of a walkthrough that the facilities committee did to identify any issues. I don't think there's unanimity of opinions on that subject, but we shall see what happens in that meeting. More importantly,
Walter, can I just interrupt? When you say the board, you're referring to the transfer station board in this case?
exactly.
Okay,
And all this is in preparation for a meeting of the 3 select boards with the transfer station board to review the project in some amount of detail. This will be like the first one we had 2.5 years ago. We're hoping that we can do that in the first week of February. So what I wanted to get on the table tonight was to inquire of Jeff and John whether they are going to have pockets of availability on that in that first week of February, so that we can start to work on that. And Zell Bowman LaBerge will be the one who sends out the invite.
we talking about evenings?
Probably.
Yeah, first week of February. At this point, I'm wide open. That's unusual. Every night that week.
I am not good on Tuesday or Wednesday, but I am good on Thursday or Friday.
All right, I'll let her know.
What about Monday? That's actually the 31st, but
Yeah,
Yeah, I can do Monday.
Yeah, she asked me about the 31st through the Friday of that week to inquire. But this is going to be a herding cats effort of some
Sure.
magnitude, because we've got Owl's Head and 5 Thomaston members to corral here.
sure, yeah. Plus the transfer station board.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Okay.
and I would say too, I mean, you're probably not going to get 100%. And if you do, you'll probably never have the meetings.
We know that. We don't get 100% at our meetings most of the time.
Yeah.
Other than that, there has been no change to our budget, which we approved. I actually had the dubious distinction of signing the check that South Thomaston wrote for the new assessment. And when I thought about that, I said, maybe that's a no-no, since I'm treasurer of the the transfer station board. I think I took you guys through the drivers of that increase.
Yeah.
Nobody likes it that I've heard so far, but we shall see what the reaction is going forward. For those that were not here at the last meeting, our town assessment for the transfer station is up like 23-point-something% year over year. This does come after 3 years of no increase. So we had some unfortunate events that drove that in 2021, including we were not able to generate a surplus, which we've usually applied to reduce the assessment. Other than that, that's it. I do want to answer a couple of questions that I've gotten. We went out to bid on the project in October of 2020. The bids came back, and we went through the process of going through fundraising and then permitting, and we're still not done with that. And then our primary bidder came back with a $300,000 increase to the price. And that resulted in us going to the low bidder. And even then, we have that $1.24 million bid in front of us to sign the contract on, which that is opposed to our original bid of $970,000. So the inflation has taken hold in this project for sure.
Okay, anything else? Any questions?
No, we'll be looking for your feedback in this meeting because we think it's important that we nail this down before there are more price increases or lack of availability of people to do the work.
Okay, Jeff, any questions, comments?
Nope.
Okay. I'm
John,
good.
if I may?
Anybody, Bruce or anybody?
Yeah, John, if I may, we received the contract.
Bruce,
for
can
that.
Bruce, would you just introduce?
Yeah, this is Bruce Colson, who's the chairman of the Transfer Station Cooperative Corporation.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. We received the contract for that just today. They're holding their price on that, and they're ready to go on construction over there right now, for that matter. So that window is closing quick if we don't get this done. A lot of contractors, as you just heard from the engineer on your project, are not taking any jobs for at least 6 to 8 months, if not longer. So we have these guys on board. They're ready to go. We believe we have everything pretty much into play. We just have a building permit to get from Thomaston. And we pretty much have everything for that as well. So it's coming down to time is the essence of this. You know, in the time it took us to find financing and work the financing out and work with details with permitting, that jumped nearly $300,000 in just a short period of time. And we're only talking like 2 or 3 months. So it jumped quickly. To some that come to a surprise, but it did not to me, because I forewarned people that, you know, if we keep going down the road any longer, this thing was going to be $250,000 plus more. And then within 3 months, sure enough, it was $250,000, almost 300,000 more. I feel if we miss this opportunity now, and we don't get this done in the next few weeks, we're going to be talking a few $100,000 again. So if we can get a contractor on board to start with, again, you heard your engineer say that Hager probably had a window of opportunity. That's why he come in with the Island Road project. Baines Construction has got a window of opportunity, and it's now. You know, in a couple months, that window of opportunity may close. So that's where we're at with that. Do you have any questions on it or anything?
I don't. Jeff? Walter, any response to that or?
No, I agree with Bruce that the sooner you can get this under contract and moving, the better off we're going to be.
Walter?
Now meeting so that you know, that we make that as productive as possible, because the idea here is that's the last step before we nail this thing down.
No, I think I missed the beginning of your comment. So that joint meeting is the last step?
Yes, I would think so.
That is the attempt to get everybody the same information all at once, so that, you know, one particular component don't hear something and the other one hears something different. We're just trying to get everybody together so they're all on the same booking page and they know what's going on. We believe that's the last hurdle. It's an open, honest conversation with everybody, so they know what's happening and how we proceed and how we got to this stage. And at that point, we're ready to sign that contract, providing it comes back to our lawyer first. That's the other thing. Our lawyer is out of town until the 24th of this month. That contract will be forwarded to him for his review. And if it comes back with his blessing, then we will be looking to sign it.
Okay. Anything else on this? All right, I'm going to jump back up to the beginning. Are there any public comments for items not on the agenda?
Thanks, Bruce.
You're welcome, Walt.
Thank you, Bruce.
You're welcome.
Good seeing you, Bruce.
Same here.
Hearing none, I'm going to move along here. It is my wife's birthday, and I promised I'd take her out to dinner. but she's not.
Happy birthday.
Her Facebook friends have already passed their best wishes on, John.
Yeah. Okay. Review and approval of prior Meeting minutes, we have December 28th and January 4th. Is there a motion or concerns or?
Move to approve the minutes of January 4th and December 28th.
Is there a
Second.
second? Okay. All those in favor? Jeff?
Jeff, I.
Walter?
Aye.
John, I. Okay, update regarding temporary relocation of the library to Guilford Butler School. Any word at all?
I have no word to update on this.
Penny, have you haven't heard anything?
No, have not.
Does anyone feel that it's time to take a gentle nudge with the fire marshal's office? Even just a phone call of inquiry from our town administrator or something, or so it doesn't seem pushy?
I think it should probably come through John Hanson, and I would rely on his, judgment whether we should or not. I don't want to.
I mean, this is,
any
no, I know, and you don't want to get reshuffled to the bottom of the pile.
Yeah, I agree with Penny. I think we should maybe nudge John to.
Okay, but would somebody volunteer to call John or email John?
Yeah, I will.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get in trouble. I mean, or kick somebody off. As a police chief once told me, the last thing you ever say is, "You can't arrest me," to a police officer. So, but okay. Update Midcoast Internet Development Corporation. Walter, do you want to take us lead on this? I understand the Axiom study for the 4 core towns is in, and I haven't read it.
It is. I must admit that I haven't thoroughly read through it. It's kind of long. In that mailing, Deborah Hall committed to responding to your letter, John. That'll be interesting. I have not heard back from Mark Ouellette about our specific report, but I have emailed him twice on that subject. He had led me to believe that last week or this week was when he was targeting, and so I'll continue to hound him.
Okay.
And of course, we haven't paid him. He's so
Yeah. On that email that came out from Deborah, I saw, Terry, you forwarded it to Jeff and I saw Cliff and Ann got a copy as well as Walter, but I didn't see Lynn on there. Did you get a copy of that, Lynn?
I did, the study, yes.
Okay. I wasn't.
I mean, unless there were multiple emails, I did get the
No,
note from her.
I don't think there were, and there was a huge list there, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't take an hour to make sure you were on there, but I did a quick scan and I didn't see you on there, and I was gonna ask Terry, and I forgot about it until I saw you tonight on that. So, okay. Anybody, Lynn, have you looked at the study at all, or?
I did, and there is a reference point in it that says that is the initial study, and that South Thomaston would be included in the towns that would be phase 2 of the whole coalition as it comes forward. The net of it is that it is economically viable to do it according to their study. I mean, that's sort of the cut to the chase type of thing. Although I would be very interested in seeing the one specifically for South Thomaston, given we're not as dense population as the towns that were studied.
Yeah, some people would argue we're denser, but okay. All right. Anything else on that?
not that I can think of.
Jeff? Good? Okay.
Yep, I'm good with it.
All right. I'm going to move the personnel policy to the end of the agenda because I think we may want to go into executive session for that. Brian, let's talk with you. Walter, do you want to, we're on discussion of funds available for new fire trucks. Walter, do you want to lead this with Brian to start us out? I believe you updated.
Yeah, the only thing I did was do a 10-year borrowing payback term that Jeff asked for. So that's the only change. That's the only, as an addition, actually, to the last to the last workup.
And that was the spreadsheet that was in the packet.
Yep.
Brian, do you have any new information or anything you want to?
No, nothing on our end. We're still going through vendors, so to speak, and getting them scheduled due to the everyone's schedule and COVID concerns. We did not schedule one for this month. Next one we got coming up is not until the end of February.
Okay. Well, I'll be quite honest with you, I haven't spent a lot of time studying this. Let's keep this on the agenda just to keep it moving forward, but it also strikes me as a discussion that we're gonna have as we get into budget meetings. Is that how people are viewing it? Jeff, Walter?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Yep, exactly.
Let's make sure we try to pull as much information as we can, and anything about timelines and stuff from you, Brian, would be kind of critical, because I have a feeling, given the supply chain issues of the world and stuff, we may be looking at a fairly extended timeline here, and that impacts, you know, how much money we have on hand and how much needed to borrow if the town approves this and blah, blah, blah. So
We're at right now a minimum of a year, the most 2 years as of today. Like you
Yeah.
said, subject to change by the time we get around to moving forward.
yeah, exactly. So even though we may vote on something in June, we may not necessarily have to disperse anything or borrow anything for over a year perhaps. So
And it might not even get dispersed until the following budget, the 23-24.
that's my point. Right.
Yeah.
That impacts this. It's a fluid situation. So, okay, let's keep that on the agenda though, just so we keep it in front of us, if that's okay, Terry.
Can I ask a question?
Sure. Yeah, sorry.
So at what point do we have to decide that we're going to put a borrowing article on the town meeting agenda? Because once we do that, Brian and company have got to spin up their communication effort, so that, in my view, so that we can avoid what happened last time, which is first time through we failed, second time through we succeeded.
Yeah.
Well, the fire department failed and succeeded.
I think the technical answer is 7 days before the meeting, but that's not a good practical answer. I mean, I would assume personally, my vision would be that, you know, we would talk about this at budget committee. It may not actually result in a budget committee vote on anything, because I don't really think that we're going to have, well, there could be a discussion on how much at budget committee, how much we contribute to the reserve fund next year, but I don't think we're going to have a debt service payment in the next budget. But I do think that it's important that we discuss that. So it seems to me that it's kind of whenever we execute the warrant for town meeting, which would be, I guess, sometime before we go to the printer for the town. Well, no, we're not even going to do a town report before. Well, we actually I haven't thought about that. How's that going to work? We are going to, that's interesting with the new fiscal year. I guess we need to think about that, think that through. Terry, when do they issue the town reports in St. George?
They have them at the town meeting in May.
They do. So obviously then, if we do one this year, I'm getting off the subject here, we're not going to have an audit report in it because the fiscal year is not going to be done. So we're going to have a year. Yeah. So I guess, Walter, the answer to your question is probably sometime in April.
Okay.
I guess. Jeff, I haven't really given it a lot of thought, so the timeline, so with the new fiscal year.
Yeah, I think April is right. What I'm mulling in my mind is we almost have to have it on this, at this town meeting, so that he can order the truck and that kind of thing, even though we're probably not going to commit to funds, including the borrowing, for another year, and maybe a year and a half. So that makes it
Yeah,
kind of
because-
interesting.
Right, because there's no way we could order a fire truck without authorization to borrow.
Correct.
That doesn't mean we will have closed on the loan. Let me do this. I'll commit to kind of laying out a timeline. Brian, I may need to get some info from you. If people are willing to let me do that. Any objections?
No, absolutely.
Hearing none. Terry's shaking her head. Because I think we need to think a little bit about timing anyways, because this is the first year we're in the completely new fiscal year system. So, okay. So we done with that for tonight? Brian, did you have something else?
Well, it's probably nothing, but it's just some of the truck companies are offering up. I do know specifically E1. I believe they had it back in 2015 when we bought the last truck. Order now, don't make a payment till a year after type deal. So that might work out with the budget aspect. I leave that all up to you guys.
Yeah,
And
right.
we are working, just to confirm from what Walter has been saying in the past and what we did the last time. We are working on putting everything together for the presentation aspects, but kind of holding off on doing them until closer, probably now to like April, when it kind of slides in with the whole approach to the town meeting aspects. So,
Yeah. And we're scheduled, the budget meetings are tentatively scheduled for the first week of April, correct? I mean, we haven't actually scheduled anything, but we sort of slated it in timeline for that first week in April. Is that correct, Terry?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Just a reminder, John, on that slating of the first week in April, just make sure the Monday stays clear if we're going back to in-person meeting type aspects, because that would be the same night we do truck nights.
I'm going to suggest that you might have to pass on that because we already have lost the Wednesday of that week.
All right, I'll work around it. We'll figure it out.
We haven't yet, but we're going to talk about that down below. But I would agree with you, Walter. I think we should lose the Wednesday of that week. But anyways, okay. So yeah, and who knows whether we'll be Zoom or in person by then. This is tough with all this unknown stuff. Okay, moving on to something that's hopefully simple. Chief, you have a request to use what is it, $1,208.42 out of your $1,822.50 in donations that you received this year to buy a couple of wetsuits. Is that
Yeah, I would just because I didn't know we had donations brought in. I just kind of caught on to it after discussions with Terry a few weeks back. I would like to use those funds to purchase 2 more cold water suits. This would complete that project. And I also wouldn't have to put it in the 22-23 budget.
Okay, I guess I need some clarification there. My understanding is you already bought 2 at a cost of $1,208.42. Is that correct?
That's correct. It was in the 21-22 budget.
And you charge that to your budget, not?
Yep.
And you're looking to buy 2 more?
Correct.
Out of the $1,822.50?
Yep.
So do you need, is $1,208.42 still a good price, or should we say up to $1,300, or what are you looking for?
If you could give me the ballpark of 1,500, and if we can come under, we'll come under. I don't know if prices have changed and that aspect due to everything going on.
Okay, questions, comments? Jeff, Walter? So you haven't priced them lately then?
I'm going off what the price was of what we just got, and if we can get that same price, then great. I'm just not sure if an increase has happened between now and then.
Yeah, okay. I'm willing to go with the 1,500. I'm confident the chief will try to get him as cheaply as he can. So, is there a motion?
I move we authorize the chief to spend up to $1,500 from his donation account or funds that have been donated to him for the purchase of the wetsuits.
Two wetsuits, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Second,
Is there a second?
second,
Okay. Further discussion? All those in favor? Jeff?
Jeff, I.
Walter?
aye.
John, aye. Okay, thank you, Brian.
Thank you all.
Brian, I will respond to your email.
No rush. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yep. Review Island Road bids, we already did that. Stipend request, that's, Betty, why don't, that's something we may want to discuss in executive session, but I would like you to, if you're comfortable, at least publicly, explain your request, unless you would rather, do it in an executive session to us. That's up to you.
No, I don't have a problem. And now that you've saved tons of money on the Island Road project, I think that stipend increases is well within the means of acceptability. But you
tell
got
us
my letter.
currently- Can you tell us what the current stipend is for the EMA director? I don't
What
have,
is it, Terry? Is it? It's like 2,200. Is that right, Terry?
I'm trying to pull it up.
all right, well, while she's doing that, why don't you go ahead and give us your spiel?
Well, I pretty much stated my spiel in my letter.
Yeah,
So-
but if you want to add anything to it or.
Well, I think there's been an EMA director since 1982, but there has not been any EMA. Basically, the select boards in the past, in my humble unbiased opinion, have just basically put a body into this position. In the last 6 years that I have been doing this, it's now qualified as an EMA department. The amount of work that I've put in over the last 6 years for $2,200 is like ridiculous. There's so many things in place now that have never been in place that I don't even know where to start. I am the most qualified EMA director in the county with the most experience, the most education. And I think it's really time to take this position and the emergency management department seriously. I don't believe that the town recognized the essential nature of what emergency management does. The weather conditions are getting worse. The disasters are becoming more current. I mean, I've been on weather watch now since the beginning of January, constantly monitoring weather conditions. I mean, that's just one small aspect of my job. And it's a position that needs to be taken responsibly. If I retire, I would hope that the town would find someone qualified to fill in and to continue the work that I've begun and started. And for $2,000, no one is going to do this job. It's not a 4-hour-a-day job. It's a continual, almost 40-hour position. So I think a reasonable request of $5,000 for stipend for the EMA director is not outlandish. So I was not going to say anything, but I think I think you need to start taking this position seriously. because it is critical, and in the future, it's going to become more critical. So that's my spiel, and it's your turn now.
Okay, thank you. Jeff or Walter, any initial comments? And we can discuss this in executive session later on in the meeting or another night. I mean, obviously, this is in preparation for the budget for beginning July 1st. So we don't have to, tie this up tonight completely, but if there's any initial comments or questions of Betty?
I don't know if it's Betty or of us.
Can you?
I agree with everything she says, that Betty has said, but I would like to, the financial conservative in me would like to see what the other towns are paying their EMA directors. It's not good to be lagging in any one particular area, but it's also not good to be the leader in the financing of a position. So I would be interested in finding out what the other EMA town and city EMA directors are making.
Walter? Are you there? Is Walter gone?
I was muted.
Oh.
I've only known this position with Betty as the incumbent, and have watched this continuous program of or process of improvements and changes and add-ons. I do agree that I'd like to see not only what other towns are paying, but more importantly, what other towns are doing. What work are other EMA directors doing? I know that Betty is the apple of Ray's eye, and the county guy. So I deduce from the compliments that he's issued that she probably does more or contributes more than some of her counterparts in other towns, which is not necessarily a reason for us to go back to the way things were. But I'd like to know what the landscape is, what the playing field looks like, and I will separate that from a stipend increase into this year's budget for the incumbent. So that's a separate discussion as far as I'm concerned. Going forward, it becomes a more permanent discussion. But so those are my thoughts.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Betty has sort of on her own initiative taken this position to a completely different level. I'm not sure I completely agree with your assessment that the selectmen have just put warm bodies in there. I think when they put me in there for a few months, that was true. But I can remember a couple of folks who tried to make some improvements, and obviously you've taken it to an entirely different level. Like Todd Butler's wife is one who strikes me as someone who was really tried to make some improvements and coordinate with the county. I do agree with you that if you retire, it's going to be hard to find somebody to do this, but I'm not sure that 5,000 is going to do it either, given the past experience that we've had, but with other positions. But I certainly applaud what you've done and where you've brought this position, and I've had very positive feedback comments about the weather info that comes out, and I think that's great. And I've seen you out there. I mean, I remember the day that I bumped into you. I happened to be turning around over there by where the Gig River crosses Buttermilk, and you were over there monitoring the water height over there. And that was just purely by coincidence. So why don't we, if we have time, we'll move this, consider taking this up in executive session, either at the end of tonight's meeting or perhaps at the next meeting. Again, we don't really need to and Terry, maybe you and or I don't know who can gather some information on who's willing to gather some information on what other towns around are paying. I'm not gonna volunteer to do that, so.
I can do that.
Okay. And I think most importantly, towns of our size, but it doesn't have to be limited to that, but. So why don't we, if we have time, we'll talk a little bit about it later on. If not, we can put it on the next agenda. Maybe we should just put it off to the next agenda when we have some more information. That probably makes more sense. Is that agreeable to folks? Walter?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So is there a motion to table this to the next meeting?
So move.
Is there
Second.
Further discussion? Anything else you want to add, Betty? You don't have to. I'm just asking, giving you.
No, I don't think
Okay.
there is.
Okay.
Well, maybe there is one thing. Other towns don't have what we have in place. None of the towns have the multiple shelters, the evacuation procedures, and most of the stuff that I put into place. So when you go to comparing, it's going to be difficult. Just food for thought.
Yeah, and I think that goes to Walter's point about not only does he want to see what the prices is, but what they do, and maybe that's something we can have a conversation with Ray Sisk about, perhaps.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Betty is still on. EMA Director Thomas, Emergency Alert System Proposal. You're gonna have to talk.
Did we vote on that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Nope. Further discussion on the table? All those in favor? Jeff?
Jeff, I.
Walter?
Aye.
John? Aye. My apologies. I forgot we didn't vote on that. The Emergency Alert System Proposal, Betty, you're gonna have to talk to me like I'm a 7-year-old because I have no idea what this is about, even after I read the material, so.
Okay, I'm sure you're all familiar with Amber Alerts, correct? Are you? The ones where there's a missing child and it comes over on your phone that there is a missing child? That's called an Amber Alert. And that's provided by the Public Alert Warning System, which is short for PAWS. Now, the county tried to participate or find a reasonably cheap program for towns and the county, for municipalities and the county to have emergency alert systems set up. But PAWS is extremely expensive. So the county could not afford to implement that program. This was probably 4 years ago. What has happened with the recent technology is that there's more companies now that are providing the emergency alert systems that are affordable to large corporations, municipalities, fire departments, schools, churches, and that kind of thing. Now, what the emergency alert system does is it allows you to send out a text message or an email if there is, just say, a hurricane warning that the hurricane is coming to South Thomaston and you need to prepare, or you need to, in a very short text message or email message, you need to prepare for evacuation. A lot of the towns are currently getting involved in the emergency alert systems because they can contact a lot of people in just minutes, or even less than minutes, almost seconds. Thomaston is setting up an emergency alert system. Rockland, I believe, is I've been working with the city of the town of Washington. I believe Rockport is now setting theirs up. The short form of this is that for a small amount of American Rescue Plan dollars, we could implement an emergency alert system and make it available to town residents. It's a voluntary sign up where if they sign up for the program, if there's an emergency, it goes out on their cell phone. And right now, if there's a power outage, a lot of the Wi-Fi's will go down, but text messages can get through. That's why this is another tool in our toolbox for alerting citizens of danger. And after looking at this thing, and Terry told me there's about 220 people signed up for our newsletter. We actually have it in South Thomaston about 1,500 people, which if you look at the amount of people that probably will sign up, if we're lucky to get half of them, we would be in good shape. Rockland, I believe, I can't remember what their population is, but they have about 500 people now signed up for their program, which is just a small, relatively small percentage of their population, but they've just started it. So people are just now signing up for it. But if we got about 500 people that signed up for it, I would say that we were doing good. So when I sent you this price sheet for this company, you can get 5,000 calls for $250, which is 5,000 texts or emails, which is cheap for emergency alert services. It would give us an opportunity to try it out, see how many people would participate in it. Because in the future, I'm sure that this is where alert systems are going to go. So that's my spiel. And I think it's we could try it for free for a while after speaking to the representative of this company. And this, I believe, the plan that I sent you is the best one, because if we don't use these calls, we can roll them over. 5,000 is actually a lot of calls, but we can bank them year after year and not lose them. And this is one of the very few companies that has this plan that we can actually bank these calls if they're not used and roll them over for an indefinite period of time. And like I said, we can test this system out for free before we even sign up to do it. But for $250, I think it's a really good idea and another tool that we would have for alerting citizens of possible problems. So that's
Thank
my
you.
spiel.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Jeff, questions, comments?
The county did have a program, and I don't know if it was done through EMA or if it was done through the admin office, that was programmable. You could pick an area, a circle, and make phone calls and texts to anybody in that. And there were probably half a dozen people authorized to initiate that. Is that program still going on? And how would this dovetail with anything the county decides to do?
We did have that program, and no, it is not going on because it became prohibitively expensive. So the county does not have right now an emergency alert texting capability. I don't know if they're planning on doing that right now or what the status of the county is. But that program is I can't remember the name of it. It was obsolete maybe, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago. They quit doing it. So that's not available any longer. But you're right, you could program it and do all that, but it was not particularly user friendly. That was another reason why they quit using it. And it was too expensive.
Yeah, I can attest to the not user friendly because I was one of the folks that was authorized to use it, and I had to pull the book out every time I even thought about it. I guess this particular one that you're looking at, can we pick an area, Dublin Road, and send text just to people on Dublin Road, or would it be all or nothing? Do you know?
I think because of I haven't done extensive research on the formatting and how this is. I believe that you can pick just Dublin Road residents, but I'll have to confirm that.
Okay.
Walter?
Where's the 250 show up in the documentation?
It should be on one of those on the price sheet. Did you get the credit packaging pricing?
Yeah, so that's 5,000 calls for 250. Is that what that is?
That's correct. So
Okay.
it's about 5 cents a call.
All right, and this is an opt-in kind of thing? Is that what where you started?
Yes,
You-
yes.
you
People
tell
have
people
to
that
actually,
you explain the program and people sign up.
correct.
But we're paying for it, so there's no charge to the user.
Right. All they have to do is sign up.
Huh. And does Rockland have this going on already?
Yes, their program is, I believe it's called Civic Ready. And their program, they went with a more sophisticated one, which was $2,500 per year. And we don't need that kind of sophistication. We need something very simple to send out a quick text or email. But they have more money and a larger population than we are, so they went with the more expensive route.
Betty, who do you envision doing this?
Who's sending the text?
Yeah, who's gonna write the text and send it out? I mean, do you envision that being multiple people like the county plan was, or?
I would probably the EMA director, possibly the fire chief, and possibly the town administrator. Sorry, Terry.
Okay.
Cross-training.
Yeah, the other thing is, and I mean, I like the idea, and it does seem incredibly cheap, depending on what we use it for, if we use it for true emergencies, but I mean, we have worked for years, Terry, you can attest to this, to get that email list up to 250 people, and it's free, and we ask people when they come in the door, and I mean, Terry, am I correct? I mean, we've struggled to get 250 people.
Yep.
I wonder if people are going to do it. I mean, and the town email list is, you're getting all kinds of different information. This is just one thing. So and that's not a good reason not to do it. I'm just saying that the thought of getting 500 people to sign up to me is, I know that would happen. And I assume this would be available to summer residents as well as perhaps even just vacation renters. Is it not that flexible? If I come and rent a place for 2 weeks and there's a little thing on on the refrigerator in the rental, it says I can put my cell phone number in there. Is it that easy to set up, I guess?
Yes, yes, actually, that's a good idea. Yeah. Put a note on the refrigerator.
Yeah, because I
And,
mean, those are people, in my experience in the past, that sometimes don't even know where they are, and all of a sudden they have an emergency, and oh, I don't know what street I'm on. But
true.
it's just again, I'm not opposed to it. I can see it being a bit of work to try to get it subscribed to, and then maintaining it, and but anyways. Jeff?
Yeah, I think if we, especially if we can do it for free, between now and June, we could see how difficult it is to get people involved in it. My only reservation is, and I've seen this happen with other types of communication, this is probably a little less risky, but like towns doing their own radios or their own, and what ends up happening is the county comes in and overlays something over the top of it, and now you're stuck with a brick that doesn't work with the counties. And I don't think it is as risky with the phone in this type of system. But my only trepidation is that that will end up being out of step with whatever the county ends up doing. And I do think we ought to be pushing the county to do something similar to this on a grander scale. It just makes no sense for each of the municipalities and towns to be doing something like this, because 9 out of 10 of the emergency calls that we're going to have to send out to everybody are going to initiate with the county as opposed to internally. I mean, we might have to do 4 or 5 calls a year, whereas they're probably going to generate 15 calls a year.
Well,
so, but having said that, I do think we can try this risk-free and gauge what the public is willing to how much they're willing to participate before we commit to a long-term relationship with them and an annual cost. I think this would be eligible for ARP the first time, but after that, it'll be an annual cost to the budget.
Well,
No, not necessarily so. That's not necessarily true. It wouldn't be an annual cost because if you don't use those calls roll over indefinitely. So, who knows? It could be a one-time fee for 5 years, which is relatively cheap. And I understand what you say about the county, but I can also see where the county would probably, Ray would roll over because he's been trying to get this going for years, and it's extremely costly. And that's why it's kind of gotten waylaid, for lack of a better word. But I do think possibly trying this out for a period of time is a good idea. And I think that you're absolutely correct in assessing that the willingness of citizens to sign up is dicey. You're right about that.
Well, the other concern that I have, and I'm not trying to throw cold water in this, I'm truly not, but I kind of agree with Jeff that if there's an emergency, it seems to me that the people who are going to know about that first are the county dispatch and the sheriff, and maybe in Rockland it works because they have their own police, but I guess I'm struggling with how are we going to know about a real quick emergency. And I'm not talking about weather necessarily. I'm talking about, I don't know what I'm talking about. Someone's running around in the neighborhood with a gun or something. That's probably an extreme example, but Jeff, do you know what I'm talking about? About how, on the input side, how are we gonna even know about it if you're at Hannaford's or so? I don't know. I guess I'm having trouble visioning how it's gonna work.
Well, I would get alerts from the county. What that would be pertinent to South Thomaston. If the county got, if I mean, instead of being pertinent to the entire county, they would send me alert, which would be specific to South Thomaston. Because we're a coastal community, our alerts are oftentimes going to be different than Hope or Appleton or out in the,
Yeah.
outside. It's outside. Coastal communities have a lot more jeopardy, for lack of a better word, for weather conditions and those kinds of disasters than the inland communities do.
Yeah, it just strikes me as, why isn't this is it should be a county thing. I mean, if you're sleeping at 2 o'clock in the morning, why, it's gotta go from the county to you and then out from you. And it just seems as though that it should be going right out from the county dispatch. I mean, that's just sort of my vision of how it would be much more efficient, but I'm not plugged into that, so I could be wrong, but it just seems like another step in the process of emergency where it's not coming out from the source, but which to me is when someone calls in an emergency, it goes into dispatch, but I don't know. I don't know enough about it, I guess, but I'm willing to try it on a trial basis. I just don't want to put another burden on Terry. She's burdened enough. So, but I'm willing to try it.
All right, we'll check it out. We'll do the trial period. Okay, Terry, you get to help me.
Whatever you need, buddy.
Are we as a board agreeable to that, or?
Yeah, I'd make that a motion to authorize the EMA director to try this system and see how many folks we get to take on it.
Second.
Further discussion? I guess my only comment would be, I really don't want to burden Terry with this. I'm concerned about that, and so I'll vote for it, but with the understanding that Terry's not the lead on this, or the person that ends up stuffing the envelopes or whatever it is. So, okay, Jeff.
Jeff, aye.
Walter.
Aye.
John. I'm an aye, somewhat reluctantly. I just feel it should be a county thing.
Yeah, and just so you know, I'm going to double check. When I was at dispatch 20 years ago, we had a similar capability then. I can't even imagine that they don't have that capability currently at dispatch as opposed to EMA. I'll look into that too. I'm curious because they've got to have an ability to send out emergency calls and texts to different areas from dispatch. Because we had that 20 years ago. So I can't even imagine that they don't have some kind of a capability now.
Can I back up then?
Sandra had her hand up at some point, John. I don't know what she rejected.
I'm sorry, Walter, you broke.
Well,
Sandra had her hand up for a while.
Okay, well, hang on one second. I think maybe if we are going to move ahead with this, we should let people know when we market it and advertise it that it is a trial. just so people are aware of that. Sandra, did you have a comment?
Just a couple thoughts. I mean, I think what we have right now is a vacuum where, as John says, the county should do it, but the county isn't doing it, and they're apparently in something resembling paralysis. And also, whatever they came up with, it would make sense if there was some way to have not countywide notices blanketing everybody with messages that don't apply to them, but targeted stuff so they could contact the EMA in South Thomaston and say, this, you know, feeding into whatever else Betty gets from other sources, saying this applies to South Thomaston right now. So in the absence of anything right now, I do think it's worth a try. If the county comes up with something terrific, we can always drop out of this and join the county instead and notify people that all we're doing is shifting the alert to a different source. In terms of getting people to sign up, well, we have now, through enormous efforts of Terry and others, gotten an email list of a substantial number of people. And we start by telling that email list that here's an opportunity. We're trying this out. If you want to be on it, you know, set up a way to contact whoever's right, Betty or whatever, and give us your, you know, name, address, cell phone number. And that would get, chances are people who've taken the trouble to be on the email list would be happy to be on this one. But they'd also be particularly happy to know that they're not going to be, their cell phone messages aren't going to be filled with garbage, because we're already experiencing that. It would be nice to know that we're only going to send out really targeted, important stuff.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I think we're all set then. Yeah, and I agree that obviously the first place to start is with that email list that took us years to build. I assume that would be kind of a given, but anyways, okay, let's move on to review. I think the only thing we have left is a review end of year-end financials, and then
Wait, what about the COVID policy?
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I only got a few more minutes here, so let's
Okay, can I like say?
So you basically want us to come up with a policy that doesn't say we meet on a Tuesday and then COVID goes crazy on Wednesday. We don't have to wait for 2 or 3 weeks before we meet again until to make changes to the current policy. I mean,
yes, I think it needs to be flexible, and I think you need to be able to go to Zoom rather quickly. Who knows how many variants we're going to have in the future? We could be in and out of this mess for some time to come. But if you set up a policy of somehow that allows you to go into Zoom very quickly and out of Zoom when need be, I think it would be a very, very wise idea. And it would save you tons of time. That's just my suggestion.
yeah, so obviously, since we can't make a decision unless we meet as a board, either by Zoom, we're gonna have to delegate that to somebody. That's how I see it, if we want to pursue that. Jeff, Walter, any thoughts? And obviously the person would be probably Terry. But
Yeah, I've got.
I didn't understand your. I didn't
I've got
understand
two
your
thoughts
reason.
on it. Yeah, I got two thoughts on it. One is,
Sorry.
I think it's important that the board meet every time that they make a decision like limiting the public's access to anything, and for deciding that committees and that the board overall is going to meet in Zoom and not in person. I think that has to be a deliberate decision made by the board at the time, and it has to be based on the current events. It would be, I don't even think it would be possible for us to come up with all the possibilities that are associated with this. And we then have to tie it to if the number of beds available reaches this in the county, then we're going to go to that. I think that's way too complicated, especially since we can have a select board meeting pretty much at the drop of a hat, and go into it or out of it at our choosing. And I don't see it as a time issue. I think it's an important decision that the board needs to make. And I wouldn't want it to be associated with a particular automatic policy that isn't very well thought out and based on science and current directions. And I just don't see that happening over the next few months.
Okay, Walter?
Yeah, well, Jeff pretty much expressed all my thoughts on this subject. And I certainly wasn't prepared to make any decision tonight. I do think it's a matter for ongoing discussion, but I do agree that especially with Zoom and cell phones, that the three of us can get together at the drop of a hat. And if there's a situation of sufficient urgency, then we can make a decision. What we did was last week or last meeting, we let everybody weigh in. I think that's good, but sometimes it slows the process down. I'm not where Betty is right now yet.
Well,
if ever.
I kind of felt the same way. I was thinking that, we don't, if Betty and others urge us that we need to meet quickly, we can have an emergency meeting. I don't know if we can meet at a drop of a hat, but we can meet within a day or so by Zoom. And we can also bring in input. And I, for one, thought that discussion we had last week about this was very productive and fruitful. I didn't see it as a mess. I thought, we really hashed it through, and I don't think it's just as simple as Zoom meetings. There are other things like there are other aspects that need to be considered. I mean, it's not just Zoom meetings. So I guess I'm comfortable where we're at right now, and if we need, I think you could spend hours crafting a policy, and the first instance that comes up wouldn't be addressed by the policy. So I'm kind of comfortable with, calling a meeting, getting input from people's opinions that I really rely on, be it Amy or Cliff or Terry, what's happening. So I'm kind of comfortable where we're at right at the moment. And with the idea that if we need to call something quickly, let's do it quickly. Other thoughts? Okay, I guess, Betty, we're gonna leave things as they sit for now. And if you feel that we really need to change something, let us know and we can perhaps call an emergency meeting. Okay. The review end of year financials. Terry, do you want to walk us through highlights? You're muted.
Might be easier if you just had a specific question. I mean, I think ambulance billing is doing really well. I don't think there's anything that sticks out that says, oh my God, we're in trouble, or I have to say, I really didn't review it as closely as I was going to this weekend because I had my booster shot on Thursday and I was out for the count.
Jeez. I've heard of that a lot.
I couldn't believe it.
Um, But my first reaction, this is like, this is like reading the general ledger. Trio needs a more robust report generator, I think.
Yes, they could do better, that's for sure.
I've lost track of it. The exhaust system, which I can't find now.
Yes, it's under fire department.
So what's the transaction there? That's, I just needed my memory refreshed.
53,000? Is
Yeah.
that what you're talking about, Walter? That was
Yes.
the final invoice for the exhaust removal system that Brian got the grant for. I have submitted the reimbursement request and have have our portion back, the 53,809. So that
So
line is
that's why it's zero.
Yep.
Okay, that's what I thought when I, and okay, that's it. That's the only question I have. It looks like to me we're heading towards June with certainly a positive on the revenue side so far.
What, I'm not sure exactly which report we're looking at. I got the packet here. And all I see on a financial is 3 pages that each says page 1, one's dated 105, one's dated 106, and one's dated 112. But they look more like vendor reports. Well, they say vendor reports, actually. Is there another package in here?
Oh, John, you don't have it.
Oh, okay.
I had to get yours in the mail. I emailed it to you.
Okay.
I had to get
My
yours in the
printer,
mail.
and I still haven't got my printer to work, and I'm thinking, what are they talking about? I feel much better. Okay, I'll take a look at it when I get my printer working.
Okay.
So the long and the short of it, the last time I looked at it, it seemed like our revenue was very strong. I didn't see any really weak areas to speak of. I think I might have froze.
No?
Oh, okay. It says we're having trouble loading your feed. You might be offline.
Huh.
I don't know how to get rid of it, but I haven't what about auto excise? I didn't really take a check at that. Have you looked at that at all? That's obviously a critical area. I mean, it's almost as big as our property tax these days. That's an exaggeration, but
Well, as of the end of December, our uncollected balance was 68,000 and well, almost 769.
and we got 6 months to make that up.
Yep.
And what was, just for chuckles, what do we do in a month? Just, I know it varies, but
Yeah, they could be
The run
close.
rate, I think
I think we lost Walter.
I don't know.
Yeah.
How much did we make in the
well,
12?
the run rate for the 12 months is 33,000 a month.
Well, that's what, yeah, so that, we could be way ahead then, but spring doesn't tend to be as good as fall, if I remember.
Right.
But, okay. I'm happy.
I can look at that closer tomorrow. I do have to say, I'm probably gonna have to borrow money to make the February school payment. But I think March and after that it'll be fine because people are gonna start paying their property taxes in March for the April 1st deadline.
Okay. Walter, anything else you wanna?
Nope.
I'm good.
Okay. So Terry, the letter from, let's go to correspondence real quick. We just had that letter from George Hart, and we also had a letter of complaint from someone, but I think that's more Ted Mayer.
Yep.
But I think that's more directed, I know it went to you, but that strikes me as something more directed to the code officer as opposed to the Board of Selectmen. I know you forwarded it to us, but my personal feeling is the code people need to get back to him on that. I don't know if Jeff or Walter share that thought, but.
I agree 100%. And we might want to prod him a little bit. If in fact he has expanded his operation to beyond 10,000 square feet, then he would need to go back to the planning board. Matter of fact, no, he couldn't even go to the planning board. It's a prohibited operation. Commercial operations of 10,000 feet or more, square feet or more, are not prohibited in that area, or not allowed in that area. So he either needs to curtail it or go back and get some restrictions from the planning board. And I think that's where he's at. I did a quick look out there. I didn't measure it, but he's expanded quite a bit.
Yeah.
And he was legal. He was probably legal the first time around, but if he went over 10,000 square feet, then he's probably gotten out of the legal area.
But my point is, I don't think we as a board should respond to Ted. I think that's getting us in the middle of something that really the code people. And I know we're in the transition here between Terry and Dan, and I certainly don't want to dump this on Dan.
I was going to say that this is a good learning experience for him, but Terry should go with him.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I agree 100%.
Okay. So Terry, can you kind of communicate?
The other thing is,
Go ahead.
Has the citizen talked to Travis and said, you make a lot of noise? Is there something you could do about it? Or did he just go right to us? We don't know that, I don't think.
No, I think he went to Terry first. The way I read it, this is a response to Terry's response to him.
Not me, Terry, the other Terry.
Yeah, Terry Brackett.
Right.
Oh, it was to Terry Brackett.
Yeah, that's how I read it. That's how I read it.
He did send this letter to code enforcement at South Thomaston, and Dan did read it today. And we talked briefly, and I suggested strongly that he talk to Terry about it.
Okay. So would you do the board, would you just acknowledge that you pass it to the board, but that it's really a code enforcement matter, and that you forwarded it to our new code officer or something like that? So Mayor doesn't think we're ignoring him, but
okay.
But it's really it's not under our umbrella, so to speak.
Yep.
Is that agreeable? Okay.
Yep.
All right. And then we had the letter from George. I haven't received any other complaints about snow plowing or sanding. Has anybody?
Nope.
Terry, you would get them.
I haven't got any complaints, but I was over on Spruce Head Island that storm, and they did not sand anything. It was horrible.
All right. Well, then would you call Jimmy or email Jimmy or do something and let him know? And I will say in Jimmy's defense, I mean, Chet has done those roads for years along with Larry, and Chet's not there right now. So but that's not an excuse, but.
Yep.
And would you let George know that you're speaking to, we reviewed his letter and you're speaking to Jim Calic.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay.
I will say that when we made that change on who owns the sand, scrimping by the vendor was much discussed. And so we want the uncompensated road commissioner to really ride herd on Jimmy Calic.
I will, actually, I can do that, Terry. I'll call Jimmy.
Okay.
That would be better. I forgot I was the uncompensated interim road commissioner. Okay. So we agreed to, I lost my agenda, sorry. We agreed to, I think we agreed to table the, sorry. We agreed to table the EMA salary request in the next meeting. So I think the only thing we have left, and correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, no, we need to talk about warrants for review and approval. I guess we're gonna have to just come in and sign those. Or Jeff and Walter are.
Yes.
Yep.
I meant to look at this before tonight, but with my weekend, I didn't. In St. George, they had what they call DocuSign. And I thought it was through Google, and I could send the email, send the warrant to you, John, and then you would sign it by just typing your name, and then it would automatically go to Jeff, and then Jeff would sign it, and it would automatically go to Walter, and then it would come back to me.
Well, that's fine, but in the interim, Jeff and Walter can just sign them. We just, as long as you got two.
Yep.
Okay. So the review items for the next agenda, let's keep the standard ones on there. We just talked about the EMA salary. Schedule future budget, schedule future meetings. I think we scheduled out far enough, but we did have a conflict if we want to meet on the 6th. I did talk to Sandy Wiseman, and she told me that the only, other than Moira's concerned about a budget meeting that night, that everybody else was available. Kristen's available that night, and the three of us are. So my inclination is to go with Terry's suggestion and keep the 6th as that joint meeting. And then if we need a 4th meeting for the budget committee, do it in the beginning of the following week. But I want to hear from Walter and Jeff.
Fine with me.
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay, so I'll let Sandy know that, and Gabe, I should say, the co-chairs. And then Terry, if we need a 4th meeting with the budget, we can schedule, or a 5th meeting for that matter, we can schedule it the following week, so. Okay, all right. All right, no, I won't. Okay, so, Terry, did you get being sick, did you get a chance to look over the drafts?
No, I didn't.
Okay, I did read them quickly, Jeff, and I think there's a few issues we need to deal with and when Terry didn't get it, and we're not under any time sensitivity here. Does anybody object to tabling that to the next meeting?
No, because I'm concerned about Leslie.
She says she's fine. Don't worry about her. But one thing in particular, Jeff, I thought we were talking about 50% of the 2 adult plan, not the family plan.
I thought we were going to go with the cheapest of
Yeah,
the
and that's the
family
2
plans.
adult, and that's the 2 adult.
Yeah.
I thought an adult with child was cheaper.
Yes.
Excuse me. Yes, no,
Yeah,
you're right. It's adult with child, but you referenced the family.
No, I don't think I did.
Well, I thought you did, but anyway,
Well, let me see what I actually put. I thought I put it the cheapest of the,
you know, the other way to word it may be the least expensive of the non-single plans, because they could change over time.
I did say the lowest of the family premium.
Yeah, but family is one of the 3 premiums. I think it could be confusing.
Of the non-single premium?
Something like that, I guess. I don't know. You don't need to do it right this minute, but, and the other thing is I didn't see anything addressing, and maybe I just missed it because I did it quickly, the issue that Terry brought up about just because I'm not married, I should not be eligible for this.
I put that, I didn't say those words. But I said full-time employees may apply. And I took out any reference to proving that you've got a family. There's no reference to it at all.
Okay, well, I had printer problems and I was struggling to read this on the computer without, referring one page back to another, and I just got it today, printed. So, I guess I would like Terry to look it over, and I'd like a little more time to look it over. And so if no one objects, I'd like to table it for the next meeting.
Yeah, the way I worded it was, does not specify that who would be eligible. It just says all full-time employees are eligible for it.
Okay, so in effect, you didn't in a positive way said they would be eligible. You just took out the disqualification.
Correct.
Okay. Correct. Okay. All right. So is there an objection to tabling this to the next meeting and
So move to table the decision on the revisions to the personnel policy.
Second.
Further discussion? Terry, I would urge you to really look it over carefully because you're the one who's got to explain it to people. So, okay, all those in favor? Jeff?
Jeff, aye.
Thank you for your work too. Barbara, Walter.
Aye.
John? Aye. Is there any other business before this esteemed body? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn and happy birthday, Leslie, again.
Second, and happy birthday, Leslie.
Further discussion? Jeff?
Jeff, aye.
Walter?
Aye.
John? Aye. And that was great news with the Island Road, so.
Certainly was.
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah, so, okay. See you guys later.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you, Penny.
Thank you, Penny.
My pleasure. Have a good evening.
You too.
All right.